If you're itching for a new Soulslike, Lies of P will be right up your alley. It's incredible how much they're able to nail the FromSoft feel. There's a clear understanding and respect here from the developers, as well until we finally get a PC port or PS4 emulation gets up to speed. This is the closest we'll get to Bloodborne on PC. That said, Lies of P at times does follow the Souls formula a bit too closely. They do bring some unique elements to the table, but I felt that they could have pushed this further and added their own touch. But if you're going to pull heavy influence from a game, Bloodborne isn't a bad choice. It helps fill that hole that a Bloodborne 2 could fill. Lies of P is another excellent game from a year that's delivered many.
Another fine day in the city of Crot, but I wonder, my friend, just where you've been?
Few things of note before diving in, thanks to ICO Partners for providing me with a review key. I ran this with a RTX 3060 on PC with zero issues, bugs, or crashes. They did a fantastic job with optimization. It's a bummer that this is the exception and not the norm. Some small instances of poppin', but that was rare. I have to note it's a dick move for them to mention the inclusion of de nouveau at the last minute. Here's hoping it doesn't crater the game's performance.
Be careful, clever one.
In Lies of P, we play as Timothée Chalamet. Okay, not really. We play as P, a puppet in the city of Crot where puppets are running amok after the puppet frenzy. There is a disease of petrification that has spread throughout the city for humans. It's inspired by the story of Pinocchio with a darker twist, similar to the American McGee's Alice series. In prep for this review, I read The Adventures of Pinocchio, which I'd never read before. Do you know it's the third most translated literary work? It's only behind The Little Prince and the Bible. I didn't realize it was that popular. My only real point of reference to Pinocchio was the 1940 Disney film, which I also watched in prep for this review. First time watching it since I was a wee lad. I didn't realize how different the book was in comparison. A lot darker too. It was a serialized work at the time. The initial story ended at chapter 15 where the assassins hang Pinocchio. The public demanded more to the story. Author Carlo Collodi would add in several more chapters at the end with a happier ending. Anyways, on to the game itself. As mentioned in the intro, Lies of P nails the FromSoft formula, but plays it a bit too safe. I'm not only talking about the foundational elements, but in the details as well. The menus and UI look right out of their works. You have the kind, mysterious lady providing us with leveling up.
I'm so happy to see you.
Movement feels right out of a Souls game. It even has that awkward jump with clicking on the stick. The kind of awkward where you clench your butt cheeks every time you jump, hoping you make it. You chase butterflies who disappear after a limited time for weapon upgrade items. The way weapon upgrades and scale is right out of the Souls game. All the classic traps are there, where you're clicking the right analog stick when entering a room to lock on and see what lays in wait. You have gestures that you could use. There's even a case of Zanzibart Forgive Me.
I'm sorry. I was afraid to die.
Now to note, this isn't exactly a bad thing. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. It's a testament to the developers with how much they understand and respect this style of game. That said, I was hoping to see more of what they could bring to the table. What kind of tweaks would they make to the formula? It's not like they didn't make any tweaks, but I would have liked to have seen more. One reason is because the weapon assembly system in Lies of P is fantastic. What a great system this is. You want build variety? Lies of P offers it in droves. You could separate the blade and handle of each weapon. The blade and handle each have their own unique Fable arts. These are special skills that we could use when we build up our Fable slots. We could build this meter up in combat or through using an item. The handle we choose will change how our weapon swings. For example, you can have a dagger head with its default handle for a short stab, or you could use a handle from a sword for a longer swing. Or how about a heavy blade head with a dagger handle? The world is your oyster here. When you upgrade weapons, you only upgrade the head. You could tweak the handle scaling with a trade-off, improving the scaling of one attribute for loss of another. I had lots of fun trying out different combinations of handles and blades to see what I liked. Different situations or bosses could call for different combinations. You can't disassemble the boss weapons you earn from boss fights. You can't put their handle or blade elsewhere. That said, there's plenty of fun to be had. P's left arm is for the Legion arm. There are several of them that we can lock with different abilities. You can't change them on the fly. You need to do this at a Stargazer, the game's equal to the bonfire. They have a limited charge that we can replenish with items or at the Stargazer. The puppet string, one of the earlier unlockables, was a favorite. Pulling in enemies or pulling myself into enemies never got old. I also enjoyed the one allowing for launching explosive shells. There's plenty of variety here to give you different options. We could further upgrade P through the quartz system. There's a lot to choose from here. Quartz are rare to come by, so it's a big deal when you come across one and have to decide where to place it. Take all these systems together and you have many options in regard to combat. So on that note, how was the combat? It took me a few hours to shake off some of those old Souls habits. Elden Ring was the most recent one I played. I found the best approach was to be aggressive like Bloodborne, but make heavy use of guarding like Sekiro. Yes, you could still dodge to your heart's content, but there's more incentive to go for those perfect guards in playing aggressive. If you guard at the right time of an enemy strike, you lose no health. If your timing is off and you're a bit early, you'll take some damage, but can gain that health back through attacking. So there is incentive to play aggressive to gain that health back. How much health you lose with a mistimed guard will depend on your weapon stats. But another strong incentive to go for perfect guards is it allows for faster staggers. You can build this up with constant attacks, but perfect guards do so as well. That's why I went with this approach as opposed to dodging as much. Perfect guards can cause some enemy weapons to break. Depending on your weapon's guard regain, you could open up enemy staggers faster. Once they're in a staggered state, you have a few seconds to open them up for a fatal attack. To do so, you need to hit them with a charged attack first. This can be a pretty frantic few seconds, where you're trying to hit a charged attack, which takes some time to pull off. The enemy is still swinging at you. There were several times I would try to rush it and end up getting hit and miss that opening. Once you pull it off and nail that fatal attack, it's oh so sweet. I also like where it shows you need to stand for larger enemies to pull off a fatal attack. There are exceptions to guarding every enemy attack. Some enemies have fury attacks. You have plenty of notification of them coming with an audio cue and the enemy flashing red. You can't use invincibility frames for dodging. You need to get out of their range. As well, for guarding, if your timing isn't perfect, you take full damage. Only a perfect guard will stop that. So if you're like me and you always tend to be a dodger in these kind of games, think twice. You could still do that, but the game gives far more incentive to make use of perfect guards and play aggressive. One of the first major bosses taught me this lesson the hard way. Get your timing down and prepare to suffer the consequences. If you do struggle with bosses, you can find items that allow you to summon an AI companion to help you out. As far as difficulty goes, the game is tough, but fair for the most part. That one boss that got me to work on my perfect guard was a great example of this. It's on you, not the game. I'll also note that there's less cases of enemies with 18-hit anime combos or holding off their attacks for a split second more to throw you off, a problem that flared up in Elden Ring. Some still exist, but not to the same extent. Liza P has the classic approach to the Souls level design. There's no open world element. Some levels will have the classic looping level design. Venture forth from the Stargazer, unlock shortcuts, kick down ladders, take elevators. They are more straightforward than the Souls series. Some transition areas are more or less a straight path, with some odds and ends off to the side. I didn't find as many cases of, oh thank god, a Stargazer, or oh, that's where I am, after opening a shortcut. There are some cases where I felt they placed too many Stargazers, or there was too much space between them, shortcuts included. One of the game's earlier levels, the Puppet Factory, is the game nailing the level formula. There's plenty of verticality with several shortcuts to open up to take you back to a Stargazer. The logic of moving from location to location seems to make sense for the most part. There wasn't many cases of my suspension of disbelief breaking. There was one that came close where I was thinking, wait, should these two areas connect? But there's nothing like the Earthen Peak to Iron Keep transition from Dark Souls 2. While it pulls heavy from the style of Bloodborne and the look, Liza P does have its twist with the city of Krat. They went for that late 19th, early 20th century World Fair feel, and they nailed it. In regards to enemy variety, there's a good chunk of unique puppets to deal with. That said, puppets aren't the only enemies that we're going to encounter along the way. The game will throw many surprises your way. The way the story plays out in Liza P is like a Souls game, but more straightforward and less vague. NPCs are less cryptic and more straightforward. There are item descriptions to read and notes to come across, but this is more for fleshing out the world. You don't need to be going through every single item description to piece everything together. There are several instances throughout Liza P where we have the choice of telling the truth or telling a lie. These will impact how elements of the game will play out.
Who are you?
I have to note here that Gemini gets a bit close to talking a bit much. 2023 has been an egregious year of having companions that talk too much. See Forspoken, see Atomic Heart. But he stops just short of being too annoying. But he does come awfully close.
It's been my pleasure, friends, and enjoy the rest of your journey. I've been your captain on this ride, Gemini! Well, not bad, huh? Oh, I really am good at this. When in doubt, let Gemini be your guide. You look annoyed. What I do? I'm sure it's fine. Let's get a move on, pal.
And the end result is an excellent game that's well worth your time if you're a fan of this formula. It may be a bit too on the nose at times with its inspiration, but it's able to nail that feel and show an understanding of why these games work the way they do. I hope the studio takes another crack at this formula in the future and decides to add in more of their own touches. But for their first crack at it, they've done a fantastic job in showing they have what it takes. Thanks for watching.
Finally.